I recently received the Denali V6 LED license plate brake light. This was on back order since April, and this is July 21st, I guess. So it takes a long time, I guess, to get this in my hand from the time that the order was placed. I was a bit disappointed at that, but I'm not going to comment any more on that. Suffice it to say, I had to work with customer service at Twisted Throttle to get them to actually send me one when it came in finally off a back order. This is what comes in the package. So, as you can see, there is the brake light assembly. It comes with a bag of screws and wires and stuff like that. And there's the instruction, the exploded view. The generic installation instruction shows that it can be mounted to the bottom of the license plate using the 2 screws and nuts. And I believe it also can be installed at the top of the license plate. So that's good to have that option. Not a lot to the instructions as a matter of fact. It just tells you how to physically mount it there, and then the wiring diagram is this. So it would appear that this is the B6 here. The wire comes out, there's some sort of connector like that, and then it plugs into a wiring pigtail here, and then there's 3 connectors here that are to be wired into your typical brake light system. This is not customized for any bike as such, so you know, it certainly makes it easier if you have the CANsmart controller, as I do. This is the CANsmart controller's connector CANsmart controller instructions, and you can see all of that comes with the CANsmart controller, which is great. It's a complete kit that they supply all the wiring and everything. If you were to install 1 set of auxiliary lights, 2 sets of auxiliary lights, or the horn, or the B6, in this case the B6 rear light. And that's the connector right there. So you'd think that would be it, right? This is how the brake light pigtail looks. This brake light pigtail is the one that was shipped with the CANsmart controller. So it's got the connector, and the connector is connected to the controller, and then there's 2 wire connectors here. There's the controller, and I suspect that it's one of these 2 here that are free. I'm just going to show you afterwards which one it was. It is. Here it is right here. It says here to connect it to the brake light circuit on the CANsmart controller. Not sure which one that is, but it shows that the B6 is connected via that little piece that we have there. So looking at the back diagram here on the CANsmart controller, which is a heck of a lot more useful than the connector on the B6, because this one is dedicated to the BMW bikes. So it's got the same connector that's shipped with the controller here, plugging into, so it would have to plug into the you know, it says brake light circuit orange. Step 1, route the harness of the Denali V6 brake light from the rear of your motorcycle towards the CANsmart controller. Step 2, use the posi locks to attach the brake light pigtail to the end of the Denali V6 lights harness. Step 3, plug the male 2-pin connector of the brake light pigtail into the orange brake light circuit on the CANsmart controller. So when you look at this, it says the orange one, which is this one. So let's look at what they ship here. So they ship in the bag, this is what came with the B6, okay? This type of connector. And this type of connector, right? This type of connector would fit into that type of plug or socket on the B6. So right off the bat, these 2 go together, right? These 2 go together, and then there's a need for an orange light. There's an orange wire here, red, orange, and black. So that would suggest that this is the one to use. As you can see, there's a running light, and I just applied the brakes, flash, 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 stop. Off, and it's back to running light. So without that orange light, without the orange wire connected, I still have a running light. So that's good. In order to install the V6 auxiliary light underneath the license plate like this, you can see the wire behind here follows this thing that hangs down. Okay, this has to go. So we need to cut this off. It kind of looks ridiculous anyway. It just has a reflector here. So I'm going to cut this off and be able to install my V6 underneath here. When you look above here in this particular motorcycle, there's not enough clearance here to install the V6 on top. Besides, it'll be too close to the license plate light, and it'll kind of like, I don't think it'll work very well. I'm going to just install it down here. It'll be a nice compact install. Having said that, this installation requires removal of a lot of things. I'm thinking that you're going to have to remove all of this stuff underneath here. All of this is going to have to go because the wiring is going to have to run up underneath here and into the area under the seat where the CANsmart controller is. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that right now, taking all of this apart. So it appears as though I'm going to have to take off these racks, so I can take this off, so I can take this whole tail piece off and do a good job on cutting this here, right? But not more importantly, I gotta find a way to neatly run the wires from here up through here and into the back seat, into under the pillion seat. So right now I'm taking these pannier mounts off. I don't know if I'll put them back on today because I don't have a trip right now planned for anytime soon, so I'm probably going to leave them off for a while. It so turns out, for those of you who've done this before, that there's two screws underneath the pillion seat here. These two screws have been removed, but they connect to this part I just pulled out. So this was the part that was under here. Okay, I'm trying to hold the camera and show you all this at the same time. It's a pain in the butt. But anyway, those two screws are the last two screws to fix this here to the underside, right through these holes. So that brings me to this point. I didn't know that these screws screws here just hold the turn signal onto this frame here, and then this panel that I pulled off just kind of fits around. So there's no connection there. So once you remove the one screw from here, right here, down here, and then there's two more screws up here, you have to remove this from underneath the pillion seat. This one here from under the pillion seat. And then you can peel this panel out, right? Out from underneath. Oh, it's gone back into position. There you go. You can peel it out like that. Okay, you can just pull it off. Okay, so that means that this part is now, there's no need for me to take it off. So I'm going to try and cut this off with it in situ. Alright, I'm not going to take this whole piece off, I don't think. So using a hacksaw, I hacked off this thing here. So now I've got this tidier tail end. Huh. Pretty good, not too bad. As you can see, underneath here there's access to the pillion seat area. And so I'm going to just put back the the license plate holder, the license plate, and install the B6 on it, and then just run the wire. Let's see how that goes. So I loose fit it, put these screws back on here at the top, and then slip the B6 in between the license plate and the holder, and I loose fit that. Now this is slotted so it can move side to side, okay? So you just have to center that up, tighten everything down, and then you're good to go for that part of the mounting process. As for the wire is, you can route the wire, let's see if I can show it here. You can route the wire like that, up, behind, and through this hole. So just route it behind the license plate right there. I know it's probably not the best. So route the wire right through here, up through this hole, and here, and up and under the passenger seat. So just to wrap up, the installation is done. As you can see, the B6 is installed here. Had to cut that piece off of the bottom here. It's now in the garbage. And putting the wiring through the back here and up underneath here was very simple and straightforward. There was no fouling or anything, like no pinching of the wires, and everything went back together just as before. So in general, to install this auxiliary light here, you actually don't need to take the pannier racks off. I did that in preparation for taking this off, but I took it off, and now I'm going to ride around without any pannier racks for a while, see how I feel about that. But basically it's just 4 bolts that goes in here. Some people have complained that they were rusting before. I did a little inspection of my pannier racks, and they're not rusting at all, as far as I could tell. But what I'm going to do is take this opportunity to actually treat the areas where it's in contact with the frame, because I did notice on the pannier rack right around this area here there was a little bit of a slight bit surface rust. But the bike is 3 years old, so I mean a little bit of surface rust, I don't care. I'm going to just treat it, maybe just spray some anti-corrosion right there, because nobody looks at that, and just put it back together when I go for another motor camping trip or something like that where I need the panniers to be installed. But they just go back up into this hole here, and the same thing on the other side. So to install this thing, the hardest part of the installation is figuring out the wiring, even though it's plug and play, and that's because the wiring on the light itself is a it's a 3-wire system, but on the controller it's a 2-wire system. So I was worried that I was going to lose. Bike needs a wash. I was worried that I was going to lose some functionality, but as you can see, with the bike on, the light comes on right there. Funny thing is I don't know, maybe it's the angles of where I'm looking at it, but they're pretty bright, but it looks as though these 2 middle ones are a little bit dimmer than the outer ones. So that's how it looks. Extremely bright when you're looking at it from dead on. And I've got a VisiTech controller on this bulb, on this rear lamp as well. I don't get to see my own bike from behind, so I'm not sure if it's working. It's supposed to 3 or 4 flashes before it comes on when you brake, but there's no deceleration function. This one has the deceleration function turned on, and so between the two of them there will be flashing going on here, and then brake lights coming on, so hopefully that'll improve visibility. So basically a very easy installation, and I did a little bit more than was absolutely needed, but it's pretty easy once you remember. Just follow the instructions on the on the thing and ignore that orange wire. Just wrap it back and you're okay.